It's Max Moon. You know, well, Conan under a mask, but the man from the future who's doing all those, the future doing lucha, all those moves that people didn't quite think that wrestlers could do. So he has to be from the future. And then you've got Damien Demento on the same show. So this superstars, WWF superstars from 1992, moving into Survivor Series 2.5 weeks away, 7th of the 11th, 1992, is blooming rubbish. I mean, the main event here really is that Jack Tunney has said that Money Inc., who won the belts last week from the natural disasters, earthquake and typhoon, the big typhoon, and won them fairly and squarely. The head shrinkers got involved, but they didn't ask them to come down, I don't think. They've got to defend the titles they won last week. Here tonight against High Energy, Coco Beware and Owen Hart. Why? I don't know. You usually do it every month, don't you, Jack? So I don't know why he suddenly said, I want it in a week. I want it in a week. Yeah, he's the president, Jack Tunney. Yeah. And then Max Moon is facing Louis Spicolli, who of course made his name in ECW and sadly passed far too early. And there is a move named after him, the Spicolli driver. He doesn't get the chance to unpack that because it's mainly Max Moon, Conan, under a mask with a hip toss. He takes him over in a suplex type move, takes him over in a headlock and holds on, gets a victory roll, and then there's a crossbody off the top for the pin. And I didn't think at any point, well, they're from the future, aren't they, all those moves? I thought they're from 1992, I think. Okay, the head shrinkers are bound to make me happy. Yeah, versus, we don't know, because it doesn't really matter. Blimey, something alive in there. Anyway, the head shrinkers attack immediately. There's a short DDT, a Samu crescent kick, some stomps and a double dump. They pick him up, drop him. I think it's a Samu slam. Quick kick, splash from the shoulders. You know, one head shrinker stands by the turnbuckles. The other one stands on his shoulders. Or is it on the second turnbuckle and then jumps off? Why don't you just use the turnbuckles? It's weird. Anyway, they win. They get the pin from the splash. And there's no point. Apparently, I'd forgotten this. Sergeant Slaughter is now an enforcer. The enforcer. He's the equaliser. With a big jutting jaw. Anyway, a turn. Hunt, you maggot. You human slime. Yeah. Sean Mooney's on honeymoon, folks. Which means that we'll have Lord Alfred Hayes later on. And Mean Gene Oakland is really selling that Boston Garden event with Razor Ramon talking of Savage. You know, he's going to fight Macho Man Randy Savage. And his accent, so thick. As thick as molasses in this particular program. I mean, as he became more of a good guy, the bad guy, he brought it down a bit, didn't he? Anyway, Virgil, who's really popular, they're into him for some reason. Maybe there was nothing on TV that week. He's facing Jim Peterson. Apparently, he's got Jim Peterson. He's a big fella, and he's well conditioned. According to Vince, like the conditioning of Ico Pro. Yeah. Anyway, there's a hammerlock from Virgil, but Peterson puts him down, doinks in the crowd for the second week in a row. They don't know who he is, but in fact, Vince says, "Is that not Bobby Heenan?" So clothesline from Virgil, off the top, which is nice actually. And then a pin from what Vince calls a neck breaker, but it's actually a leg sweep. And during the match, Virgil's asked pick, who was his influence as a wrestler. He picks Bob Backlund. Why? Bob Backlund is coming back. He will be the champion, won't he, in 1993? That was a good move. Right. Alfred Hayes. Hayes is talking about Janetti's back. on the attack. Last week, he attacked Shawn Michaels. There were some shenanigans or shenanigan, which put Sensational Sherry down. And I think at this point, she turns away from him, doesn't she? Doesn't she stand in Janetti's camp for a bit? Anyway, Bret Hart's got a music video. We see him as a kid with his dad. He's wrestling with one of his other brothers, I presume. And, you know, his dad, you know, teaching him to wrestle and all that. It's a terrible video in that we see him doing what he does, which is to wrestle. That's really what he is, isn't it? That's all he's got. But it's a big thing, but he's not got the kind of charisma that you might really need from wrestlers at this time. Anyway, Damien Demento's here with a cloak that's got really big built-up shoulders with teeth on them. Yeah, versus Steve May. He's not in for long, Damien Demento, in the WWF for long, because it's not really very good. It's his debut, hits a flying shoulder block, won't pin him, big clothesline, then a neck breaker. He pulls the knee pad down. I'm showing you me pulling the knee pad down, not doing anything else naughty. And then he hits him with a knee drop, and that's his pinning predicament move. What a bore that was. And he's not in for long, as I say, and probably a good thing. Right, the big boss man's in for an interview in the middle of the ring with Gene Okerlund. I'm going to say Gene Tunney then for a minute, because that would be a boxer, not Jack Tunney, and not Mean Gene either. Anyways, he's talking to Mean Gene. He is the system, apparently. He is the system. So it's you to blame, is it? And he looks at the nightstick that he's got to grab. I think they've got a cage match at the Survivor Series, and also it's a nightstick on a pole match as well. Overbooking, complete overbooking. But there you go. It's coming in 2.5 weeks, folks, and the Bushwhackers have stepped aside because the Nasty Boys, who fell out with Money Inc. and Mr. Hart, because I think they wanted the chance at the titles, are going to be fighting with, it's a face turn, folks, with the Natural Disasters versus Money Incorporated, the champions, and the Beverleys, Bo and Blake. I can't remember how that was, but I can't imagine it was all that good. Now, The Undertaker is at his work. Remember last week he was planing, but really hitting the plane. It's not what you do. You plane softly and smoothly. You don't just smack it down. Anyway, he's nailing a coffin together, and with small nails, it won't hold. Not a bloke as big as Kamala. They're in a coffin match for the Survivor Series, and Paul Bearer. Ooh, see, I can't do that at the moment because my throat. Can't wait to the moment I can do that. That's what I'm really hankering for. He's got a great chat during all this. They made it out of, made the coffin out of material. It's wood, isn't it? That will rot. It would have been better with cardboard, probably. But anyway, it will rot so that the maggots can get in and the worms can get in and the rodents can get in and chew at the tender flesh of Kamala. Yeah. Anyway, High Energy versus Money Inc. for your main event. Oh, God, it's terrible. I don't know what happened here, but it's just not long enough. So, High Energy clean house to begin with. Ted gets a smack from the apron, of course. Owen gets a clothesline, atomic drop. Ted puts the brakes on when he throws him into the ropes, hits a neck breaker, and it's the pin. Now, Vince calls Ted DiBiase lucky, but it was a good move. It's just that you wouldn't expect a pin from that, would you? Expect a pin from the $1 Million Dream, wouldn't you? Or the write-off that Owen Arsheister does. I don't know if Owen Hart was injured and they had to take it home, but it was weird. Weird. And then Gene finishes the whole show by calling out John and Sheila Norton in Acton. I'm not sure if it's London or if it's in the States. That's the way you end this show. It was terrible. And this is almost your go-home show for the Survivor Series. I don't know what that show did as far as points go, but can't imagine this will win prizes. It's a terrible, terrible show, this. But Max Moon's there, so Back to the Future, eh? Ta-ta.